Hey guys, this is a worksheet on parallel lines, and in a little bit we're going to be looking at what happens if we have a line going through two parallel lines, the angles that are created. So we know that parallel lines are just two coplanar lines, so two lines on the same plane that never intersect one another. Okay, you can see these are two lines that never intersect one another, and these arrows are actually used to indicate lines that are parallel, so they have the arrows going in the same direction like this on them. And then for the symbol, we use these up and down lines, so I just put them in parentheses like that. So like for example, this line AB over here, okay, is parallel to this line CD. So we write the two, and we just put two up and down lines in between them. And so if you'd read that, you would say line AB is parallel to line CD. Okay, so parallel planes are just going to be planes that never intersect one another. So again, a plane is just going to be like a, if you took like a cross section of something, that would be the plane. It's just a flat surface that goes on infinitely in either direction, any direction. And so again, we're just going to use this two up and down lines, and we would literally just write that this plane J, keep doing that, plane J is parallel to this plane K. Okay, we are not going to focus on skew lines at all. Okay, skew lines are just lines that don't intersect each other but are not in the same plane, and so we're not going to be using them. So anything with skew lines you can go ahead and mark out. So example 1. We're going to name all segments that are parallel to AE. So I'm going to go ahead and mark AE with this red. So we're looking at all of the lines that are kind of going in the same direction as this line. So we have BF, you can see here, this segment here. We have CG over here also. So both of these two, you can see, are going in the same direction, are not going to intersect. Okay. And then HD over here is doing the same thing. Okay? So those are the only ones that are in the same plane, going in the same direction, and are not going to intersect. So now we're going to give two examples of parallel lines, or parallel planes, sorry, I can't read. So we can look at this plane here, this plane ABF. Again, you need 3 letters, so 3 points to describe a plane. Okay, and if we look at the planes that would be going in the same direction as that and not touching it, you can kind of see that this one on the other side of this figure would also would be doing that, would be parallel to this plane, so we can call it plane DCG. So again, we just use 3 points to describe the plane. I'm trying to erase it, there we go. Okay. And then we can look at plane ADH. Okay. So again, just 3 points. And you can see that if we're looking at this plane over here, this would be the one that is going kind of in the same direction and is not going to intersect it. So let's call this one plane BCG. Okay. And then this one's asking about skew segments, so we are just going to mark it out. So they're parallel, they're going in the same direction, and they're never going to meet each other. So on example 2 here, we're going to name all segments that are parallel to JK. So JK is here. Okay, so again, all of them that are kind of going in that same direction. Really, the only one going in the same direction would be this OP. Okay, so this one is going in a different direction, so it's not going to meet it, but it's not in the same plane because it's not going the same direction, so it doesn't count. And the same with this one, it's kind of going at an angle like that, so it's not the same angle, not going in the same direction, not in the same plane, so they would be considered skew. So now we're going to name all segments that are parallel to NS. Okay, so all of them that do this kind of a cross thing. We would have JO. Okay, also not going to meet it. KP, we can just go around. They're all going in that direction and not going to meet one another. LQ. Okay, and these are segments, so I'm putting the line over top, and then MR. Okay, so they're all going in the same direction, and they're all not going to meet one another. Sorry, I keep pushing that button on my pen while I'm trying to write. Okay, so now we're going to name a plane that's parallel to plane JKL. So we're going to be using JKL. So it's this plane. So if we extended this out in all directions, one that would be parallel to it would be the one right across from it over here. Okay, and so that would be plane PQR. So PQ and R. And then this one's asking about skew, so we're going to mark it out. So as long as they're kind of going the same direction and therefore are in the same plane, and they're not going to meet each other, they're never going to intersect, then you can consider them to be parallel. Now we're going to be looking at a transversal. So a transversal is just a line that intersects two or more other lines. Okay, so example in this one would be this line T over here. It goes through these two lines. But sometimes these lines that the transversal is going through are parallel. Okay, so those are going to be different situations. So if we're looking at just two lines that are intersected by the one line, the transversal, we get these different angles. So we have corresponding angles, which are angles that are on the same side of the transversal. So these are the sides of the transversal. Okay, the transversal. So you can see that if they're both on this side, they're on the same side of the transversal. If one's on this side and one's over here, you can see they're on opposite sides of the transversal. Okay, and then we also have whether they're inside of the two lines, so here would be the interior, or if they're on the outside of the two lines. So these would be the exterior. So if they're in between the two lines that are being intersected, it'd be on the interior, and then if it's on the outside of them, they're exterior. So you can see, looking at these two lines here, you can see that if I picked, say, these two angles, if I marked this one and this one, you can see they're both on the exterior. They're on the outside of the two lines. Okay, so you can literally see they're on the outside of the two lines. If I picked 4 and 5, you can see they're in between the two lines, so they're on the interior. Okay, I don't know why that keeps popping up. So if we look at these, corresponding angles would be angles that are on the same side of the transversal. Okay, so they're on the same side of the transversal, so they're either both going to be on the left or both on the right here. Okay, and in the same position. So like if we have this one on the top left over here, we'd have this one on the top left of this intersection. Okay, so those are corresponding angles. So we have angle 1 and angle 5. Okay, that would work. We could do both on the bottom left. You can see they're both still on the left side of this transversal line. Okay, but they're in the same position. Okay, so we have angle 4 and angle 8 here. If we flip over to the other side of the transversal over here on the right, we could do angle 2 and angle 6, because you see those are both on the top right. They're in the same position here. Okay, but then we could also do angle 3 and angle 7, because again, they're in the same position. They're both on the bottom right of their intersection. Okay, so it's okay. Okay, so those are the different sides of the transversal, and then again, interior and exterior is depends on the lines that the transversal intersects. So, alternate interior angles. Interior angles, okay, so they're going to be on the inside of the two lines somewhere in here, okay, and they're non-adjacent, so they're not next to each other, so we can't have like 4 and 3, okay, we can't have 5 and 6, they're not right next to each other, they don't meet each other, but we're on the inside here still, okay, and they're on opposite sides of the transversal. So we're on the inside, so we're looking at 4, 3, 5, and 6. So if we pick just one of them, just say 4. It's on the inside still, so the other one's going to be on the inside. It's going to be on the other side, and it's not right next to it. Okay? So it's in between the two interior lines, and they're on opposite sides from one another. So they're alternate or opposite interior angles. So we have angle 4 and angle 6. And then if we looked at angle 5 instead, again, we need the other interior angle that is on the opposite side. So it's going to be on the opposite side of the transversal here. So it's going to have to be on this side. And it's going to be angle 3 because angle 6 would be considered adjacent. We don't want them to be right next to each other. So those are alternate interior angles because they're on opposite sides of the transversal, but they're on the inside of the two lines that it's intersecting. Okay, so I'm going to erase this. I think this will be a little neater if I do it this way. So now we're going to look at alternate exterior angles. So we're looking at exterior angles, okay? So we're going to be looking at the ones on the outside of the two parallel lines, or the two lines that they meet. If they're not parallel, that's okay too. Okay? They're non-adjacent, so they're still not next to each other, so you can't have like 1 and 2 because they share the side. Okay? Can't have 8 and 7 because they share the side. And they're on opposite sides of the transversal. So like if we have 1, we go across to the other side. Again, I said we can't have 2, but we can have 7 because it's also on the outside of the two lines it intersects. So we have angle 1 and angle 7. Okay? And then instead of looking at angle 1, we could look at angle 2 because it's on the outside over here of the two lines that it intersects. And then again, we need alternate, so we need on the other side of the transversal. Okay? So they're on opposite sides of the transversal. They're not on the same side. They're not like right there next to each other. Okay? And they're on the outside, the exterior. So angle 8 and angle 2. Oops. Okay. Now let's look at the next one. Okay. Consecutive or same side interior. Okay. So same side, so they're going to be on the same side of the transversal. Either they're both going to be on the right or they're both going to be on the left over here. And these are interior angles that are on the same side. Okay. So we're going to be looking at the interior, so the angles between here. So if we look at number 3, the only other one that's on the inside and the same side would be angle 6. So it's in between these two. It's inside of these two lines. And they're on the same side of the transversal. So if we look on the other side, we look at angle 4. The other one that's on the inside is angle 5, and they're both on the same side on this left side over here. So we have to have angle 4 and angle 5. Okay? And then lastly, we have consecutive or same side exterior angles. I usually call them same side when I were on these ones, but it doesn't matter whichever one you want to use. So same side exterior angles are exterior angles, so they're on the outside of these lines. So it's going to be 1, 2, 8, and 7. Okay? On the outside of these lines that are on the same side of the transversal. So again, they're either going to be both on this side, they're going to be both on that side. So we have 1. If we look at that, it's going to have to be at the same side of the transversal, so it's also going to have to be over here. And it's going to be on the exterior. So we have angle 1 and angle 8. Okay? And then if we look at the other side, we look at angle number 2. Again, it's going to have to be on this side of the transversal. And it's going to be on the outside, so it's going to be angle 7. Okay? So that might seem a little confusing right now, but after we go through some examples, I think it'll help clear it up a little bit. So here, we're going to name the type of angle relationship. Okay? So angle 1 and angle 8. We're going to be looking at this one and this one. Okay? So first, is it going to be alternate or same side? So this is the one that meets the other two. You can see one's on top, one's on bottom. They're going to be opposite. Okay? So they're going to be alternate. Now, are they on the inside or the outside of these two lines? You can see this would be the inside, okay? They're on the outside. so they're exterior. Okay, that's all you have to do. Except sometimes that doesn't exactly work, because if you have corresponding, you can see they're in the same position. So 1 and 3 would be that, because they are in the top left corner, top left corner. They're in the same position. They're not both in the interior or the exterior. So if we look at angles 2 and 3 here, first off, they are on the same side. You can see they're both on the top here. So we're going to write same side. Okay, and then you can see they're on the inside of these two lines, so they're interior. Okay, that's as easy as it gets. 5 and 7. Okay, this one, you can see they're not necessarily, they're same side, but they're not both inside or outside. You can see that 7 is on the interior and 5 is on the outside, the exterior. But you can see that they are in the same position, so they're in the bottom left corner of this intersection. So they're corresponding, they correspond to one another. So they're corresponding angles. If we look at 2 and 7, okay, you can see they're on opposite sides of the transversal. One's on top, one's on bottom. So they're alternate. Okay, and then you can see, if you look at the two lines that's intersected, these are on the inside of those two. So they're interior. Okay. 1 and 3. You can see again, they're going to be on the same side, but 3 is on the inside, on the interior, and 1 is on the exterior. So it's not going to be one of those ones. But it could be corresponding, so we can see that this is in the top left corner here. This is also in the top left corner. So since they're in the same position, they're corresponding. Okay, so they're corresponding angles. And then last one for this picture, we have 5 and 8. Okay, you can see they are on the same side. They're both on the bottom of the transversal. And then they are on the outside of these two lines. Okay, so if you brought it around, you can see those are on the outside, so they are exterior angles. So just go through, see if they're on the same side or they're alternate, see if they're interior or exterior. If they're both, if they're both not interior or they're both not exterior, they have one interior, one exterior, or something like that, check if they're corresponding. If they're not corresponding, then it's none. Okay? So now we'll go through example 4. Okay? So this is where it gets a little messy. The main thing is just to focus on how to, which lines are going to be your, the two that are being intersected, and which line is the transversal. So on these ones, I'm going to mark both the angles and the transversal. So angle 5 is right here, and angle 13. You can see that this is going to be the transversal. Okay, so this angle B. Okay, so this one's on the exterior, and this one's on the interior. But again, you can kind of see they're both in the top left of their little intersection. So they're going to be corresponding because they're in the same position. Okay, so now if we go to the next one, 7 and 14. 7's right here, 14's right here. Again, you can see this is the one that's going through those two. Okay. So they're on opposite sides of this transversal. See, one's on the left here, and then 7's on the left and 14's on the right. So they're going to be alternate. Okay. And you can see that it's in between these two lines that are being intersected. They're on the inside of those. So they're going to be interior. So they're alternate interior angles. So angle 3 and 6. So angle 3 and angle 6. You can see the one that touches both of those. It's going to be this one, so it's going to be the transversal. Okay, so these are going to be the ones that are intersected. You can see they are on opposite sides of the transversal, so 6 is on top, 3 is on bottom. So they're going to be alternate because they're on alternate sides. And you can see that they are on the outside of these two lines. So they're going to be exterior angles. So they're alternate exterior angles because they're on the outside of the two lines that are being intersected. Okay? Angle 9 and angle 14 here. Okay? If we go through like this, you can see this is the line that's being intersected, or that's intersecting the other two, so that's the transversal. So you can see they're on the same side. They're both on the top of the transversal, so they're same side. Okay? And you can see that they're on the outside. They're both on the outside of these lines. They're not in between them. Okay? So they're going to be exterior because they're outside. Looking at the next ones. 4 and 7. So we have 4 here, and we have 7 here. You can see that this one touches them both, so it's going to be the transversal. Okay? So you can see they're on the same side. They're both on the bottom side of the transversal. So they're same side. And you can kind of see, you can close them in between those two lines because they're on the interior. So they're on the inside of those two lines, so they're on the interior. So they're same side because they're both on the bottom side of this transversal, and they're on the interior of those two lines that it intersects. Okay, 2 and 10 are these two. Okay, you can see this is the one that hits both of them, so that's going to be the transversal. Okay, you can see that they're on the same side, but 2 is on the outside of these two lines. Okay, you can only close up number 10, or angle number 10. So they're on opposite side, or they're on, one's on the inside, one's on the outside. So we have to check and see if it's corresponding. You can see this is in the top right corner here. This one's also in the top right corner of the 4 that are created at the intersections. Top right corner, top right corner. So they are corresponding because they're in the same positions. Okay. Now 8 and 14. Okay. You can see this is the line that touches both of those angles. So that's going to be the transversal. You can see that they are on the same side of the transversal because they're both on the right side here. So they're on the same side. Okay, they're on the same side of this transversal. And then if we connect the ends of these two lines that are being intersected, they're on the inside. They're on the interior of those lines. You can see that they're being trapped in there basically because they're on the inside. So they're same side interior angles. 6 and 11, okay? 6 and 11. We don't have a line that hits both of those. There isn't any sort of line that hits both of those, and so there isn't a transversal, so this is none. Because there's not a line that actually connects those two. So, because you can see if you trace this line, it only touches 6 and not 11. If you trace this one, it touches 11 and not 6. This one touches 6 but not 11. This one touches 11 but not 6. So there is not a transversal that connects those two angles together. 4 and 13. 4 and 13. Again, do that one. You only get angle 4. That one's only angle 4. Okay, so it doesn't hit both of them. That one only hits angle 13. That one only hits angle 13. Those two do not have a transversal with one another. So it's going to be none. They do not meet each other. Like that. 4 and 9, lastly. You can see that this line does connect those two angles, so it's going to be the transversal. You can see they're on opposite sides of that transversal because one's on the left, or 9's on the left and 4's on the right. So they're going to be alternate because they're on alternate sides. And then if you connect the lines that they're being intersected here, these are on the inside of those two lines. So they're interior angles. So hopefully going through this kind of gave you a little more understanding of how to be able to determine which lines are which. You're going to have a worksheet to work on that. And so just let me know if you guys have any questions. And I will see you guys pretty soon. Have a great day.